Alright, thanks for joining me. I've been playing Brewmaster Simulator for roughly an hour. I got through the tutorial, nothing worth watching. I messed up a couple of times. So you're coming to join me for fall. It was spring and summer that I didn't show, but that's okay. I now know what I'm doing. It's not, there's a lot of me stopping and trying to figure out, me messing up. It wasn't worth watching. Alright, but we're gonna do this. I now know what I'm doing. Okay, so let's read the magazine. A fresh season is upon us, brewer, and that can only mean one thing, a new issue of the quarterly. What's your favorite tipple? I've always been partial to an IPA, and there just so happens to be a job in this issue to brew a hop-heavy beer. Sometimes being an editor pays off. How about trying your hand at an IPA? I meet the hoppy requirements of the job as well as making this old man happy. Two birds with one brew. Uh, What are we? A tragically good brew. IBU. Alright. Recipes. Articles. To understand the significance of a New England IPA or NEIPA, you'd understand that for a long time, haziness in beer was seen as an imperfection, not something to be desired. This was primarily down to a quote-unquote good marketing from large breweries who equated their crystal-clear lagers of the time with being high-quality industrially made and having a clean taste. And to be fair, haze in many instances is not typical of certain styles, and when it's present in them, it can be an indicator that something has gone wrong during one of the brewing processes, usually the wort, boil, or conditioning. So when, in 2003, Jim Kimmish and Greg Noonan created a hazy beer called Heady Topper, it was very much against the grain, aha, puns, in the craft spirit and something of a novelty, combined with the fact that it wasn't available anywhere outside of their brew pub in Vermont and New England. It needed to be stored cold and drunk fresh, or risk damaging its hops' aromatics. It was difficult to get a hold of, and it was in short supply, and it therefore quickly became highly coveted. As demand for the style went up, local breweries started making it, spreading its popularity. Now it's an incredibly pervasive style the world over, as fans try to find, or perhaps make, the perfect hazy boy. American Ale. Summary. American Ale yeast is popular for its consistency and versatility, being used by everyone from individuals to large commercial breweries. It provides a clean and balanced flavor profile, sometimes with mild citrus notes. Perhaps the best feature of this yeast is its reliability. It isn't flashy, but it can brew a wide variety of styles from American Amber Ale to American Stout, fruit beer to Imperial IPA, and many others besides. Its reliability is valued by the brewers of every scale, especially commercial brewers who need to satisfy a constant demand for a consistent product. This versatility extends to the strength of its brews. These encompass a full range of beers from the normal 4 to 6% ABV right up to a powerful 14%. This gives craft brewers a wide range in which to experiment. Finally, we have its balanced flavor profile. This is what gives the American ale yeast its ability to produce such a wide variety of final tastes and styles. Without a strong character to impose on the final flavor, American ale yeast offers a solid base for the brewer to build whatever taste profile they prefer, whether that be hoppy, malty, or anything in between. All right. I forgot one thing. Cataloging. I don't have any recipes pinned. Recipes, IP. Recipe. Catalog, pinned recipes. Okay, we have that. I'll buy 10. Done. Oh, yeah, gotta unpack it. Done. Gotta lift the lid. All right, so then once you're doing this, as you notice, it moves very slowly, almost painfully slow. But the thing is you can hit the T to get your watch to come up, and you can speed it up. Whoops, I sped it up too fast. And then we grab it. Of course, Frank. Of course. Close enough. Alright, we got that done. Add malt extract. 6.6. Guess who already forgot how much I was supposed to add? 6.6 pounds. Okay, light malt 6.6. One complaint I do have is that their measurements, not right on. Wheat malt 1.3. Three. Add a steeple. What? Of course, I didn't pay attention. 3.53 ounces. It's gonna be 4. That's what I mean. It's slightly interesting. But see, it says 3.53 ounces there. So that's a bit of the haziness that I've been getting with this. All right, heat in 212. And again, we're gonna move our watch. All right, remove the steepable grain. Add hops. However you say that. Of course, I have to pay attention to the 0.7 ounces. And then boil for 15 minutes. All right, add hops, Huntsman's Flight. 2 ounces. Yeah. Okay. And then 10 minutes. Move the hops. Okay, grab this. And let it cool. Okay. Doing that, let's go back to recipes. See, the next job is the recipe doesn't include German hops. Try throwing them in anyway. It doesn't actually want me to do that one. Interrupt. Well, makes me regret that I took 2 jobs. I noticed, I thought it was a fluke for the previous one. I also tried to take 2 jobs and it would let me brew the recipe, but it wouldn't move anything forward, so it was a bit interesting. We'll move a day forward. That cools this down. We're in it to a fermentation container. I can do that. Put that there. Spin this around. And now we're going to remove the lid. This. We are going to clean it. Put it back in the thing. Add yeast, a North American Ale, 5.29. Didn't make me measure it. Alright. I will be back in 15 days. We need corn sugar. Six, 4 ounces. Oops. I was not paying attention. She's a little sweet. Alright. We need a conditioning container. Put that on the floor. That. Connect. And I've noticed it says it has 2.5. No matter what I do, I can't get that to go anywhere. So, I guess there's always going to be a loss. That there, and back in 21 days. Package. Grab this. The beer has failed the tasting test. The batch size of the beer is too small. Adding water to the conditioning container. I forget to add more water? I don't want to clean it. The batch size of the beer is too small. Adding water to the conditioning container. Okay, I would love to, but you're not letting me. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm purely guessing. I don't know why it failed, because it's the same exact as I made all the others. So I'm just working my way around this to see if I can make this work. This can't taste good. Oh, that was my workaround. Extremely hazy. I don't know what any of this means. I'm not a big alcohol drinker consumer. So let me know. If you know if this is good, let me know. Contamination. The amount of off flavors in your beer, the lower the contamination, the higher the quality of the beer. Contamination can be reduced by good brewing practice, such as leaving the lid off when boiling, so that unwanted chemicals can escape. For a full list. Yay! Alright, good enough for me. Submit. Right. Pristine beer. Look at that. Alright, we are done. I will be back with more soon. Thank you guys for keeping me company. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more. I will definitely show you more. Bit of a goof up in the beginning. Brews Magnet to mark the Garden Brews Community Garden event. Is that gonna go on our fridge? Hold on, let's go look. Yeah. Only end when you choose to advance the next via the front door. There is no... Where did it get stored at? I like it. I like it. Yes. I think that was it. Alright. Oh, that was fun. Alright, let me know if you want more. I'll definitely play more. Thanks for keeping me company. I'll be back soon. Greetings, brewer. Do you know that what's the best thing about brewing beer is people want to drink it? Few folks in the world are more popular than a home brewer. I've sent you a copy of the Brewers Quarterly, a magazine run by the Community Brew Club, including yours truly. Each issue contains a bounty for home brewers, recipes, articles, a catalog, and last but not least, jobs, which brings me back to your popularity. A brewer's services are always in demand, and jobs are a great way to earn an income whilst increasing your brewing mastery. Why not give it a go? American brewing. It's beer, but not as we know it. Long before Europeans set foot on the Americas, indigenous people were brewing their own beer-like drinks from a bewildering assortment of grains, fruits, sugars, and herbs. Granted, this didn't include hops, and therefore some people suggest these native drinks were not beer. However, before the Middle Ages, European beers were also hop-free and made from a variety of fruit and herbs, so it seems reasonable to consider all these brews parts of the beer family. Examples include the usually corn-based chicha from the Amazon and Andean tribes that was used in many Incan rituals. It was a cup of the sacred drink that the Spanish refused in their fateful meeting with the Inca that led to his capture and the fall of that empire. Beer was brewed by every tribe with variations depending on what was in season. We know this because archaeological sites across the Americas contain the evidence beer was present wherever there were people. Beer, like Mother used to make, there's no record of whether Leif Erikson had beer with him when he landed in Vinland, though it seems unlikely he would have ventured far from Iceland without some. However, when it comes to later European expeditions, we have ample evidence. The late 16th century colonists in what would become Virginia mentioned beer frequently in their letters, and even took out adverts in London papers for a brewer to come and join them. Despite their best efforts, it was not until the middle of the following century that the first commercial brewery was set up in North America. Oh, okay. So much. All right. Buckle in, buttercups. Once again, this industry soon became ambiguous, thanks in part to a favorable climate of growing malt and hops, the key ingredients of European beer. However, while popular, beer production remained small scale and often stayed at a family level for poor and rich alike. U.S. Presidents George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, for instance, both brewed their own beer. The problem was that beer did not last and needed to be made close to where it would be drunk. Bottling would have helped, but it was too expensive for most, and beer was almost universally stored and sold in wooden caskets. the beginnings of mass production, it wasn't until the end of the American Civil War that things began to change. Several factors played into this. The first was increasing industrialization, with bigger breweries, cheaper bottling processors, and higher wages for the workers to spend on the output. Secondly, the bulk of America's immigrants were from Northern European drinking cultures such as England and Germany, rather than the wine-drinking nations of the European South. These new arrivals brought with them their drinking culture as well as the yeast and hop varieties to make their preferred styles. Finally, the growing temperance movement preached most ferociously against strong liquor, and if they could not persuade their audience to complete abstinence, would try to get them to drink beer rather than whiskey. This combination of factors made for a growing market with a for beer and the money to buy it, coupled with ever-growing number of breweries to fulfill that demand. Then the Prohibition came. The government says no. On January 17, 1920, the 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution became law, and all manufacture, sale, or transportation of intoxicating liquor becomes illegal. Beer was included in the list of banned beverages. America was still a country at mostly small breweries at the time, and while there were many of them, they were individually weak. A few were able to find other uses for their brewing kettles, but most could not, and within a short time, the majority had gone bust. But the demand remained. Modern estimates put the illegal alcohol industry in Prohibition America at about 2/3 the size of pre-Prohibition levels. Prohibition itself failed to achieve its stated goals, although it anecdotally encouraged many individuals to take up brewing for themselves. Stronger than before, Prohibition killed off most smaller breweries. The few that survived diversified into other ventures. So when brewing became legal once more in 1933, there was a huge opportunity. The illegal stills that had kept a thirsty continent in drink were mostly abandoned, and the new companies sprang up to take their place. The overall effect of this unnatural pause in America's brewing history was to move from many small breweries to fewer, larger ones that supplied the whole nation. In this wider market, a big advertising budget boosted your share, and the smaller companies couldn't compete. What the breweries produced had changed too. Gone were the heavier European-style beers of World War I and before. Taste had changed, with many drinkers growing used to illegal beers that had been watered down to stretch them further. The age of light lagers had begun. After World War II, the big breweries continued to absorb or bankrupt their smaller competition, drowning out their weaker voices with endless advertising on an increasing number of platforms. The market was dominated by a few companies making similar light lagers. Choice was limited. Eventually, the drinking public had enough. In the 70s and 80s, writers such as Michael Jackson began to champion a passion for brewing and beers that ran far wider than light lager. Lager or lager? People responded, taking up home brewing in huge numbers to experiment on their own, and this, in turn, led to the boom in craft brewing that continues to this day. And it is in this heady mix of enthusiasm and exploration that modern America brewing culture is, with a constant stream of new and unusual combinations, pushing old styles to their limits to find the new ones like pastry stout and the orange juice impersonating New England IPAs. Oh, that was a lot.